material that appeared to have numerous applications. Military, industry, even space travel were all possibilities.
Why have we not heard more of this, so-called miraculous substance?
It's a very different skill set, inventing a material, or in fact accidentally inventing a material and building a business out of it. Those are in a sense two completely separate things, and I think he either couldn't do the second thing or he didn't have someone around whom he trusted to do the second thing, and so it became just a curiosity, this material, because it never made the leap into a commercial material.
I think Morris was very, very bothered about knowledge leaking out. He wanted to own it. He in fact wanted Starlite to be his. He was not happy with in fact giving over details of what might be in it.
I think the potential was never realised because of this fundamental problem of how you bring Morris together with a business, or in fact any other person, so he felt comfortable explaining how it works. We never got to that situation that he was prepared to hand over the crown jewels.
I haven't seen anyone in the agreements.
No, I've brought you.
Okay, I like to see it.
Yeah.
We'll talk to the attorneys and see what they have to do.
But, we've got to have the agreements in place.
Yes.
All we're saying really is that I'm protecting my material and you ain't going to pinch it. That's all. No, that's all it says.
No,
really.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
He was also reluctant to tell people what was actually in Starlite.
Because they wanted to steal it. And if he'd give them the information, my dad being nobody, he had no protection, they could just say, well, they manufactured it, they invented it. He used to play mind games with people. He used to have different bits of ingredients laid around, but it wouldn't be the proper stuff because he didn't trust anyone.
So someone that doesn't trust potential investors, it's not great for them to kind of be able to trust him either, is it? Yeah. That trust was a huge stumbling block then.
He wanted it to help people, but he wanted the control as well.
I think he was out of his depth, largely because he had something there that could easily have been big, very, very big. He was being very cautious about what happens when you actually publish patents.
If I had gone that route, then the next thing is it's published, and for the appropriate fee anybody in the world can buy the copy of the patent, and the unscrupulous ones would try and copy it and imitate it, and it has to be fully set out. It isn't something where you just sketch it. It's got to be fully set out, and then anybody with an average intelligence would be able to reproduce.
Inventing it is a great thing, but it's not worth anything in its own right. Invention doesn't have a pound sign attached to it. Real wealth comes about when you change people's lives. You either protect them and they are willing to pay for that protection, or you enhance their life in other ways. And you're not doing that by inventing something, you're doing that by creating a product that does that thing. And it's a skill set, of the business person. And I think that we shouldn't underestimate that unless you have both the invention and that ability to turn it into a business, you won't create wealth. We have a materials library with thousands of these samples in it. Most of them are not out there. They just haven't found their place in the world yet. We have, shape memory alloys, we have magnetic liquids, and they've all been invented by people, and they haven't quite made it into our lives because they don't quite actually do something we all need, want, and want to pay for. But they're not to say they won't in the future. His
end goal was to in fact get something like £10 billion dumped on him so that he could just do it. No one's going to do that.
Cool. I thought you said billion.
I did.
Oh,
I
you
did. Yes.
Oh, sorry, right. You wanted 10 billion.
Well, yes. I mean, I've heard numbers of that mentioned.
Morris's stubborn nature is perhaps best illustrated in this extraordinary clip from a 1994 BBC documentary. Here, his daughter, Carrie, responds to an off-the-cuff question from the programme makers.
What would you do if it was your invention then?
I would try and sell it out to the best deal that I could get for it. by contacting all the people that have been interested in Starlite up to now.
And how would you do that? How would you actually deal with them? Being that you've been in all these high-powered meetings and see all these executives, how they try and deal with it?
Well, I would have to make sure that I was paid for it fully first before they got anything.
Before they got any formulation?
Before they got any formulation.
Money through the bank?
Money through the bank.
All signed up and all belonging to the family?
Yeah, as long as we had the money in our hands, yes.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? What would you do with £2 million? Don't you think you've undersold it?
Well, it would be better than nothing.
Yeah, but not as good as 10.
Well, you haven't got 10 yet.
He was a very controlling, argumentative person, but that's who he is, and I think if he wasn't the eccentric person, he wouldn't have invented it.
He was the showman. I think that is a very important part of any business that you try and grow, is you invent something and then you have to get people on board. Like all these investors, they have many different ways to spend their money, and you have to convince them that your material is going to be the best way to spend the money.